So today we're continuing on with our offline series for Daniel Goleman's The Focus. And I'm pretty excited for this one. I mean, this is a really short chapter, less than 10 pages. Chapter 9, The Woman Who Knew Too Much. And so as you guys know from previous videos, we typically only like give about a 3-minute intro, give a little bit of a recap in terms of like what we got going on, what are our thoughts, how we're feeling. And then we get started about the 3-minute mark. So I appreciate anybody who sees this. I wanted to do something special since I knew that this is going to be a shorter read. So even all distractions aside, being out in the natural and you know natural elements is just a nice touch when it comes to reading aloud and getting after it. So yeah, I figured it'd be a nice something to get back to since we're about a third of the way through the book, and we've been chipping away at this. I would have liked, or I would have preferred to have accomplished this a lot quicker. This is a little bit slower than what I'm used to. I would have already been done with this book in about a week's time because 3 chapters a day, I would have been pretty much done after about 7 days, 8 days, or whatever. So, but given that this is a secret rollout, this is just kind of the perfect pace, at least to be posting these type of activities online. A little bit about myself. This channel is typically a reactionary channel, but as of late, I've been adamant about just kind of shifting, not being utilized as a pipeline, but more of a prism. So, shifting away from reaction videos and trying to get more to what it is I feel more in tune with for my subscribers. Plus, I would assume that everybody who hit the subscribe button is here for me and not for their own personal gain. You understand? Plus, it's free, so I'm gonna do whatever I want on my channel, anyways. Today was a good day. We worked out, working on our boxing regiment. You know what I mean? Throwing a couple combinations, doing a little bit of shadow boxing, a lot of calisthenics, and it's been good. It's been good. We got some things lined up for the fall, but we're really just trying to feel things out. Again, it was my birthday week, so we had a little bit of we were a little bit more reluctant to treat ourselves this week, I should say. But anyways, I don't want to waste any more time with this. I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. Again, this is Daniel Goleman's Focus, the higher driver of the hidden driver of excellence. Yeah. And this is a segue from reading Social Intelligence, which is another valued recommendation. So, anyways, before the sun sets and it gets too late, I'm gonna go ahead and try to knock this out. This will probably be a nice little 30 piece, if that, maybe 15, if we're really putting our foot on the gas. I'm hoping that it's not too windy, and I'm hoping that this isn't a waste. But again, since it's such a short chapter, it's like, if I need to redo it, I'll redo it. Anyways, we hit our 3 minutes. Let's go ahead and get after it. Okay. And as you know, we have our notepad for any words that may arise that we don't understand fully. Her father had an explosive temper, and as a child, she was always terrified that he might be about to erupt. So, Katrina, as I'll call her, learned to be hypervigilant, straining to sense the small cues arise in his tone of voice, the lowering of his eyebrows into a glower. That signal he was heading towards another rampage. That emotional radar grew more sensitive as Katrina grew older. In graduate school, for example, just by reading their body language, she realized that a fellow student had secretly slept with a professor. She saw how their bodies synchronized in a subtle dance. They would shift together, move in unison. Katrina told me, when she wiggled, he wiggled. When I saw they were intimately attuned at the body level like lovers, I had the thought, oh, creepy. Lovers don't know they're doing it, but you both become super responsive to each other at a primal level, she added. Only months later did the student confide the clandestine affair to Katrina. I'm going to write down clandestine because I know it in context, but I don't know the actual definition. And I hope it's not too windy. Clandestine. I'm going to put affair parentheses. Uh, Only months later did the student confide the clandestine affair to Katrina, who adds, their affair had stopped, but their bodies were still together. Whenever she's with someone, Katrina says, I'm hyper aware of dozens of streams of information people don't usually see. Things like a lift of an eyebrow, the movement of a hand, and it's disruptive. I know way too much and it kills me. I'm overly aware. What Katrina senses and sometimes spills into the open not only upsets other people, it can throw them off too. I came late to a meeting and made everyone wait. They were all being perfectly friendly in what they said, but they were telling me with their bodies, but they were telling me with they were telling me with their bodies was not. Oh, but what they were telling me with their bodies was not. I could see by their postures and the way they would meet my eyes that everyone there was angry. I felt a rush of sadness and a lump in my throat. The meeting didn't go great. I'm always seeing things I'm not supposed to, and it's a problem, she added. I poke into private stuff without meaning to. For a long time, I didn't realize I do not have to share everything. I do not have to share every telling thing I know. After getting feedback from people on her team that she was being too intrusive, Katrina began working with an executive coach. The coach told me that I have a problem leaking emotional cues. When I pick up this stuff I'm not supposed to notice, I react in a way that makes people think I'm angry all the time. So now I have to be careful about that. People like Katrina see social sensitives. People like Katrina are social sensitives, keenly attuned to the most minimal emotional signals, with an almost uncanny knack for reading cues so subtle that other people miss them. A slight dilation of your iris, lift of your eyebrow, or shift of your body is all they need to know how you feel. This means trouble if, like Katrina, they can't handle such data well. But these same talents can make us socially astute. I'm gonna write down astute. I know what it means in context, or do I? Astute. But these talents make us socially astute, sensing when not to broach a touchy topic, when someone needs to be alone, or when people would welcome others or welcome words of comfort. A trained eye for the subtle cue offers advantage in many life arenas. Take top players in sports like squash and tennis. You can sense when an opponent's serve will land by noting subtle shifts in his posture and his positions himself to hit the ball. Many of baseball's great hitters like Hank Aaron watch would watch films over and over of the pitchers they would face in their next game to spot telling cues that revealed which pitch would come next. Justine Cassell, director of the Human Computer Interaction Institute at Carnegie Mellon University, applies a similar well trained empathy in the service of science. Observing people was a game we played in our family, Cassie told. That childhood propensity was refined when a graduate student she spent hundreds of hours studying hand movements in video games of people describing a cartoon they had just seen.
Not in video games. Oh, that childhood propensity was refined when, as a graduate student, she spent hundreds of hours studying hand movements and videos of people describing a cartoon they had just seen. Working with 30 frames per second slices of video, she annotated a hand's shape as it changed, as well as the stream of shifts in its orientation, placement in space, and trajectory of movement. And to check her accuracy, she then worked back from her notes to see if she could precisely reproduce the movement of the hand. Cassell, more recently, has done similar work with tiny movements of the facial muscles with eye gaze, eyebrow raises, and head nods, all scored second by second and checked. She's done that for hundreds of hours and does it to this day with grad students in her lab at Carnegie Mellon. Gestures always occur just before the most emphasized part of what you're saying, Cassell tells me. One reason why some politicians may look insincere is that they have to be taught to make particular gestures, but have not been taught the correct timing. And so, when they produce those gestures after the word, they give us the sense that something fake is going on. The timing of the gesture in, interprets its meaning. If your timing is off, a positive statement can have negative impact. Cassell gives this example. If you say, she's a great candidate for the job, and raise your eyebrows, nod, and emphasize the word great, all at the same time, you send a very positive emotional message. But if, as you say the same sentence, your head nod and eyebrows raise comes in the short silence after great, then it shifts the emotional meaning to sarcasm. You're really saying she's not all that great. Such reading of meta messages in nonverbal channels occur to us instantly. That reminds me, 60 instantly. I'm sorry. Such readings of meta messages in nonverbal channels occur to us instantly, unconsciously, and automatically. We cannot not make meaning of what someone tells us, says Cassell, whether in words or just gestures, or both together. Everything we attend to in another person generates meaning at an unconscious level, and our bottom up circuitry constantly reads it. In one study, listeners remembered having heard information they only saw in gesture. For example, someone who heard he comes out the bottom of the pipe, but saw the speaker's hand formed into a fist and bouncing up and down, said that he had heard and goes down the stairs. Hmm. Cassell's work makes visible what typically whizzes by us in microseconds, or automatic circuitry gets the message, but our top down awareness misses almost all of it. These hidden messages have powerful impacts. Marital researchers have long known, for instance, that if one of the partners repeatedly makes fleeting facial expressions for disgust or contempt during conflicts, the odds are great against the couple staying together. In psychotherapy, if the therapist and client move in sync with one another, they are likely to be better therapeutic outcomes. While Cassell was a professor at MIT's Media Lab, one way she deployed this extremely precise analysis of how we express ourselves was in developing a system that guides professional animators in the art of nonverbal behavior. The system, called BEAT, allows animators to type in a segment of dialogue and get back an automatically animated cartoon person with the right gestures, head and eye movement, and posture, which they can then tweak for artistic value. Getting the feel just right of a virtual actor's remarks, tone of voice, and the gesture seems to demand a top down grasp of the bottom up processes. These days, Cassell is building a similarly animated cartoon where she says images of children act as virtual peers to elementary school students using social skills to build rapport, and then using that rapport to facilitate learning. When we meet over coffee while on a break at a conference, Cassell explains how those hundreds of hours of parsing nonverbal messages have fine tuned her sensitivity. Now I automatically track this when I'm with anyone, she told me, which I confess made me a bit self conscious, even more so when I realized she probably noticed that too. That was chapter 9 of
Daniel Goleman's Focus, The Woman Who Knew Too Much. Wow. You know what's interesting is I've had a couple of experiences in recent seasons of life that speak to that, where, um, just like the example says, you're not really paying attention to the subconscious or the unconscious behaviors that you exhibit to others. Whether that's like um, being in tune, me and you and your boy, you laughing at something at the same time, finishing each other's sentences, or you moving this way, I'm moving this way. We're kind of both, in each other's path. That seems to happen more often than not. But it's unfortunate in this person's case that, uh, she was trained from a young age due to some sort of trauma and verbal abuse, maybe. But overall, this was a really simple read. I did come to the realization that right about now, at this time, would not be ideal to be reading because of, uh, you know, the what is it, the civil twilight that we're about to experience, as the sun is getting ready to set, and then we go into our nautical twilight. And there was minimal distractions, I would say today. I have to find the perfect place to go for reading. The spot that I used to go to, it was really active, and the bugs were just a nuisance. But I just like that view, just having that sunset in the background. But we'll find something else. But anyways, like I said, this is going to be a nice, short, easy read. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna try to push through chapter 9 tonight, just because um, it's already somewhat late, and I have the opportunity to get some sleep. I've had another one of those days where I had a good workout, things were good, uh, and then my, my sleep could be way better. So maybe I'll aim for actually going to bed on time. I just maybe this will be the day that I get higher than a 90 on my sleep score. I average like 70s, maybe 80 sometimes, but it don't feel like it. But I do realize that I need to take it serious. I probably had about a decade of poor sleep habits, and in the past like 2 or 3 years, I've been working on refining my diet. So here's some personal anecdotes here at the end of the book, or here at the end of the chapter. But yeah, so for today's words, clandestine and astute. Nothing too crazy. We'll be looking those up. And I have to find time because tomorrow is the official drop. It is Saturday today. But by the time you guys see this, it's gonna be way off. You're not even gonna know what day it is by the time you guys get these videos, and that's the beauty of it, scheduling these out. Um, but yeah, we're gonna keep on pushing. Hopefully, people like this series. I don't know, a lot of praise for focus. You know what I mean? This chapter was sweet, super easy. But anyways, quick and easy read. Little 20 piece. If you guys liked it, drop a comment. Give me your favorite moments. Wasn't really too much going on. Not too many distractors. Not too much input from myself. Just want to kind of get it in and get it out. Just because I started to see that the screen was becoming like out of focus and starting to get dark. But anyways, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'll see you on the next one, chapter 9. I'm excited for it.